So yeah, I think we can start. We can start our conversation. So I want to discuss the issue of law and order, and in particularly ZRP. So after doing all of, looking back and a lot of reflection, I think we need our police back. And I say this, and I think I say this from a point of logic. Every day, I work at a law firm in town. I work at KHM Law. So I use public transport to and fro every day. And the last 2 weeks have absolutely been terrible. Almost every combi that I've boarded. Today, I was in a near collision. The same combi ran through 3 red lights. Last week, same situation. He cut off a bunch of people. They've got no regard for traffic lights, stop signs, giveaways, which I agree have always been an issue, but they were not always this reckless back then. So I don't know. I feel like we didn't want the police on the roads because they were very corrupt, and I definitely agree that they were not fulfilling their mandate as they should have been. They were not honest. They were very dishonest, and they were very difficult to deal with, and I totally get that. But now it's a situation where, especially traffic, like as I've said, like as a person rides a combi, I mean, I've got no problem using public transport, but I've got a problem if the combi drivers now think they can do as they please, as and when. Now we need them to also adhere to the road regulations, to the traffic regulations, and all of that stuff. So I think we need them back. I don't think taking them off the street completely is a good idea, because yes, they were off the streets, and yes, we were happy, but I think the situation now is it's getting a bit out of hand and a bit out of control. So now the question now becomes, how do we have an effective policing force? Obviously, there'll always be corrupt police. That I definitely agree with. But we need to maybe reform the police, because you see, I also saw a video with the vendors in town, and the vendors were now throwing stones and whatever they could pick up at the police that were trying to remove them off the streets. You see, that's also not the kind of law and order that we want in Zimbabwe, because that's now just a disorder. I don't agree. I mean, again, I've got my own views about the vendors being on the streets, but I also do not agree that people in town can now start throwing bottles, stones, weapons at police force. You see, this is now where we are in Zimbabwe at this point in time. The army came and they did their job, but let's remember that the army has got no place being in town or being in civilian affairs. So now the issue is, how do we create a proper police force? Because I am telling you, things are getting far out of hand without our police on the streets. Maybe they need to be reformed or retraining, but I definitely agree that the situation where we don't have any police on the streets is just as bad. It's just as bad as it was last year. I don't think we've achieved much. So I simply think, or I am of the viewpoint, that we need to advocate not so much for not having the police on the streets, but we need to advocate for our police to be properly trained, to be properly informed, to deal with the public, and to deal with the laws. You see, I'm for a situation where we had our traffic police on the streets, but they also have the acts in hand. I mean, those things do not cost much, and they're a couple of pages. Be it the traffic act, the offences, and all of that stuff, so that we can also inform each other of when we make infringements. See, I remember back in the day when I was a bit younger, but every time there was a roadblock and something was wrong with your car or your license, the police officer would actually inform you that this and this is wrong. So I'd give you like a warning, but please make sure that your light is fixed, or your license is fixed, or the date, or the ID number, or whatever the defective is fixed. I think that's how we can move forward and have a progressive country, because at this rate, we can argue about politics and ZANU-PF and MDC and Jamisa and the trucks to the chiefs and all of that. But if we've got no law and order in our country, we are really not moving forward. Taylor says, you do raise a pertinent issue there. The combi drivers are way more reckless. Just now I saw a bunch of them going in the opposite lane at the Robert Mugabe and Chiremba Junction, they were trying to avoid the long queue of vehicles from town turning into Chiremba. Garikai says it's going to take some time for the police to be what we expect because they are like cancer, the corruption. It's not going to end, and the only way this can be sorted out is when the economy is sorted out. I definitely agree with you, but I also do agree that we can also train our police. The police were not always as corrupt. Things are not always as bad. Of course, it's a chain of events that led to our police being ineffective and certainly very effective. Taylor, I agree with you. You know, just by the village there, they go through red traffic lights, they go through oncoming traffic, and then they expect you to come out of the way just so they can pass. So it's stuff like this, but we can't let the stuff keep on going forward because we still need a sense of law and order in our country, and that is my point. We need people to still be able to follow rules, even though there's corruption. Yes, I agree, and maybe we may not be able to eradicate corruption completely, but we need to reform our policing system. We cannot function without a policing system. There's a reason why the police are an extension of the ZRP, of the executive. Okay, they serve an important function within the functions of a state and of a government. Garakai says it's a chain of events. True, it's going to take a lot, but it needs to start somewhere. I can't think where though. I think it must start with us, and I think we have a bit of blame to put here. And I say this because I've seen many people on social media and otherwise saying we don't need the police are a problem. What, license, you know, roadblock, you know what I mean? We also need to put these things forward because what's going to happen is once you start having accidents and stuff, we're the same people that also want law and order and some kind of control as to the process of like what's going on, because we don't want to turn into America, you know, where it's us versus the police, because in actual fact we do need the police, even though they've given us hell in the last 2 years. But we do need our police because they are an integral part of our system, just like we need the chiefs. People think the chiefs are not important. Trust me, look at South Africa, chiefs are also just as important. So we need to find a way to integrate our police into our system. We must say no to corruption, and we must have an effective system where, I guess now that Chiuri is gone, if this new administration is as serious as it says, with the new police commissioner and whoever's going to be heading up, structures need to be put in place where there are proper police that are put, and where he or she does not do her job properly, then we must be able to complain. There must be a chain of command. There must be a certain structure where if something does not happen properly, then there's like a recourse for citizens, you see, because that's also our right in essence, because we also have rights to things like safety, to security, and all of that. So the government must also make sure that these structures are available, because it is just as important as political reforms and all of that. Taylor says, I risk being unpopular here, but I feel as long as the salaries are low and are getting eroded by inflation, then police corruption will be hard to deal with. Do you know what? It's a catch-22. I definitely agree it's a catch-22, but I'm simply saying that not having them on the streets either, it's a big problem. It's a very big problem, because I'm that person in the combi, when the combi is going against oncoming traffic and you know, I mean, near collisions are no fun. You know, you can't put people's lives at risk as well. Some of these things just need to be there, and the police need to be there. And it starts from the top. Police take orders. So we need to have proper, okay, I don't know how the police structure goes, but, you know, we've got the constables, the superintendents, we've got the whatever, we've got captains or chiefs or whoever. But they need to start dealing with a way to create a proper structure for the police to coexist with the citizens and function properly. Because we did have a proper policing, a proper functioning police force. So what stops us from having that system again? We can't say that it's impossible to have effective police, because we must also demand, because we hold our government accountable. And then we say we want these things to happen because these things also affect us, you know. because also in the same light, I mean, I'm seeing like money changers are back. I mean, I walk along Kwame Nkrumah to go to Copacabana to go home, and those guys are still, you say, you know, bond US. And so you see, we need the police to then also, whether you see, like I said, effectively police. Taylor says, as a medium to long-term solution, would centralization of urban transport would be a viable solution? As a long-term solution, yes. But again, everything relies on funding, I guess, from the government, I guess, which would also be an issue. But I definitely agree that it's something to deal with. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff that we're dealing with, and I think Zimbabweans, we are not quite grasping the extent of so many things that are just happening around in our country. Because even with the issue of the vendors, and you know what, I'll say this. There are some people who say that vendors are a problem and we can't walk in town because it's my right to movement that's being restricted or like whatever. But I can tell you that half the people that tell me that vendors are a problem, I can tell you they don't even get into town. They don't even know how to get to Zende. They don't even know how to get to Trainer City. So it's, you see, vendors are also an issue. Money changers are also an issue. Money changing is also an issue that's killing the economy. But now we don't have the cops that are actually effectively policing, because we all think the cops must not be there. But the army cannot be in town either. So we can't have a cake and eat it, because I can guarantee that some months down the line, it's going to be a real issue, because it's not only transport that's being affected, if we really look at it. I mean, at our firm right now, I mean, we're dealing with some cases of some vendors who were arrested and assaulted by municipal council police, not even ZRP. And I can tell you that those guys that were arrested and assaulted had vendor cards from City of Harare. So you see, how do you then explain this stuff? Because we all need due process in all of our things. So I simply do think that we do need ZRP back. We need law and order, guys, because I am telling you, we are kidding ourselves if we think that we can go on like this, because it's just going to turn into a nightmare. We don't want to turn into America where it's not the people versus the police, because that will also not help us either. I believe that if there are any ineffective police officers or corrupt police officers or anybody that you've got a problem with, then we must have structures. We must have structures for us to complain, to do whatever, and make sure that they are removed, suspended, or whatever, because this is the due process and the due diligence that we want. This is the democracy that we want in this new Zimbabwe, isn't it? If they're offering us all these promises and policies, then why is not reforming ZRP also part of their policies, or stuff to deal with? So yeah, after my last 3 weeks of Kombi Rise, I just don't think it's working. I just don't think we can function like this, Zimbabwe. I think we need to address it to the Ministry of Home Affairs, that they also need to show us. But I think I did see there was a plan of some sort. I could be very uninformed at this stage. But they did have some kind of a plan for them to going forward on dealing with citizens and stuff. I would suggest that they do that quickly, and I would suggest that people of Zimbabwe also make sure that we push this agenda along, so that we are safe in our country, we are safe in our cities, we are safe on the roads, in our homes, all of that. Because yes, I think it's very important. So that's all that I wanted to say to you guys and to discuss. So I don't know, please discuss amongst yourselves. Feel free to inbox me on your views. But I do think that we need the police back. Maybe not all of them all at the same time, but maybe a couple of deployments here and there, because I think things are starting to go awry in town and on our streets, and I think this is only the beginning, and I don't think we should let it escalate. As citizens, we also have the power to demand and to ask that the government meet us halfway, and I don't think it's a big ask for this to happen. However, I do not think that the army must come back. I've seen some of you guys post it. No, the army has got no place in town. They will never have a place in town. The army can come visit us when some random country comes to invade Zimbabwe. But until then, the army has got no place instilling discipline, structure, policing, arresting, any of that stuff. There's a reason why there's a separation of powers, and there's a reason why the army was never doing these duties before. So I implore all of us as Zimbabweans, young and old, to address this issue of ZRP constructively so that we can continue to move forward and grow towards our elections and towards the change that we want and all of that. So with that being said, thank you for listening and for tuning in. If I have any more thoughts on some other issue, actually, I do have some thoughts about the chiefs that are being discussed with these vehicles, but that's for another day. So I'm going to wear my pajamas now and have dinner. So I hope you guys are good and continue to build our country constructively and critically and the best way possible. So with that being said, goodbye, my fellow Zimbos, and I'm sure I will see you again soon with something else to talk about. Bye, everybody.